then it's best to do the 3D embroidery, which microblading is about 2 sessions, and 3D embroidery consists of about 3 sessions. Sometimes I can get it in with 2, but for the most part, I like for my clients to come back 3 times. And then that 3rd time is when I really put the final touches on camouflaging the line system. Okay, so we're gonna get started now. Okay. All right, so you're gonna feel this one initially. Remember we talked about that. And so what I did first was took a look at Tracy's hair growth in the places where she had hair, which was just right in here. So that kind of told me how her line should be. Now I didn't use any numbing, so Tracy feels this. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I use many different patterns, and once you really get into the art, then you're kind of able to use more than what you were taught in your training. But it comes from a long time of studying. And so now I'm going to know. You did quite well. There's very little bleeding. Very little bleeding, and that's important. If you do a lot of bleeding, if your clients do a lot of bleeding, then that's indicative of you cutting just too far into the skin. So it's important. As this field grows, we learn these things along the way. You want to try to study as often as possible. And that helps you become really good at microblading. Now, I've taken several classes in microblading. So I would suggest you not start, well, I can't say not start, but continue, studying and practicing and taking as many classes as possible. Call up people and say, hey, can you tell me how you do this? And sometimes people are willing to give you the information. Sometimes not so much. But you get people such as myself who are willing to share. I teach a really informative class. It's intense. There's homework involved and things of that sort. And it's a 3-day class. And we talk a lot about depth, and I teach you depth so that you get very little bleeding. Most of the time the blood may only come from the heart rate, which is what we have here, because I'm not using any numbing. Yeah. So she feels it a bit, but now we're waiting for the numbing process to take place. These are my microblading pants. They got some little spots on them. You may see them on the camera. I don't know. But when I'm doing microblading, I have, certain clothes that I wear, because things happen. Okay, so initially what I did was I mapped her brows, and then we drew until we both agreed on the shape. There are classes that will teach you your clients don't know what they want when it comes to brows and the shape for their faces, but you know what shapes go best with a face. Once you take my class, for certain, I teach you about the correct shapes for certain faces, heart shape faces, so diamond shape. You can also find that stuff online, but we go over it in a whole lot in class, so that you understand the importance of making sure the shape is correct for that person. And then I allow my clients to direct me as to, within that parameter, what they like best. Sharp angle brows, which is what Tracy likes, or curved brows. Oftentimes you don't want to force your opinion on the client. You want to make sure that they feel good about what they see when they look in the mirror. And if you are dictating what that is, then you run the risk of people not really liking what they see so much in the mirror, but just saying, this is what she gave me. Yeah. And I personally wouldn't go to a person who doesn't give me any input. And so then after we got the shape right, then I dotted the shape off. And so this helps keep the shape there, especially because she has no brows. So it gives me a guide to go on with her brows. And now I'm going to blot the color off, the numbing off. Now here's the thing, if you wipe, then you take more of the marker off. So you pat, you blot it off. After we did that, then we went into the color. And we chose a color that works really well for Tracy. She wanted to match her hair a bit. And so we have this color. And once she takes a look at it, if she decides she doesn't like this color, then we can always go darker. Can't really go lighter, but we can go darker. So we're starting pretty light. This is a reddish brown. I, in my class, teach color theory. So you know which pigments to mix, because oftentimes there are pigments you can't mix with other colors. But you get an ash effect or something like that. So, Tracy, you're funny. So you have to be aware of those things, how to cancel out colors and stuff like that. It really, really matters. It really matters. I can't say that enough. So what I'm doing right now is I put in the bones. And so this is where I go in and I allow the client to look at the color. So this will be her first look at color. And as you can see, there are some lines there. Well, these lines tell me how I shape this brow. Now that the blue is all gone. Remember I told you when you wipe, the blue goes away many times. Okay, take a look, Tracy. Look at the color.
Oh, wow, that looks like I got real eyebrows.
It's coming in. So is the color good?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's get into making some more lines.
Oh my God, looks like you put hair there.
Mm-hmm.
That's too cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you like.
Oh, that feels much better.
Good. Yep, that's the intention. See, now she thinks that it looks good already, and we haven't done much. These are, you know, what I said, I call them the bones of the brow styling. So anyway, we're doing 3D embroidery is the treatment that I'm doing for Tracy today. Now, if you are someone looking to get this service, I want to say again, it's very important that you talk to your stylist about bleeding. You know, you want to know if they can perform this service without there being much blood. When I first started, it wasn't that way for me at all. I had to get there. So if you're a person who performs this service and you want to know how to do it without there being, you know, a lot of blood, give me a call. I do refresher courses too. I know that there are some people out there who take classes and teach classes that haven't quite gotten to this level yet. So you want to be aware of the experience that a person has in the service before you decide to take their class or get a service from them. That's so important. Okay, so now she has more lines in her brows, and it looks pretty good so far. There's this little line up here. When you're taking my class, I tell you about these little lines in there like that look like they just don't fit. So anyway, I'm gonna go to the other side, and I'm gonna put some pigment back on here and go to the other side, let the pigment sit. And then once it's soaked in a bit, I'm gonna let Tracy take a look again at the pigment color. Now try as hard as you may, there are times when you start out on the brows and they don't turn out to be the exact shape, same shape, the two of them. And that's no big deal. I teach that in my class. I teach you how to bring them both together. Okay, so far they're looking pretty even though for me. Again, there's that little line out there. We'll talk about it in my training. Did you feel much of that?
Much better.
Great. So there are people who put pigment on the tool when they're making the incisions. In my class, I tell you why I choose to do it this way. Not that there's a whole lot wrong with doing it the other way, but I tell you about this. So while we're letting this sit, I want to talk to those of you who are considering getting the service for your brows, because it's a really, really good service as long as the right person is performing the service. So this is a rule of thumb. You know, there are a lot of people who are posting pictures of work that isn't theirs. So the way that you combat going to someone who has posted fake pictures is to take a look at their brows first. If you like their brows, then you proceed to the next step. The next step is to look at their work and then pick out 3 pictures. Ask the specialist to give you contact information for those 3 people. If they refuse to give the contact information for any reason, patient confidentiality, I can't find a number, something like that, then don't use them, because most likely they posted a fake picture. Anyone who has a problem with you asking for contact information is someone that you shouldn't go to. You see, I don't have a single person whom I've performed this treatment for, who wouldn't like to talk to you about their service, good, bad, or indifferent. They will tell you about their service with me. I have only but to call someone up even if I haven't gotten their permission before. You ask for a photo,